Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and thank you for joining us tonight on episode 31, season 4 of the Standoff with Brad and Richie here on New Zealand Sport Radio. We're here live every Wednesday on Facebook throughout the playoffs now, we can say. Good evening, Richie. Well, it wasn't the finals week we wanted with the Warriors getting beaten, but besides that, I thought it was a decent first week, ending in one of the better final matches we've had in some time. First of all, how are you, and what did you think of the 4 matches we got to watch?
I'm well, thanks, mate. The first 2 matches probably, the top 4 matches, probably not the results I was looking for. The elimination finals were really good, really close, and a lot of excitement there. And I think heading into the Warriors match, I wasn't really expecting to beat the Panthers without Sean Johnson, but the closer the match, the closer the match came, I actually got my hopes up, and it hurt a little. I'm not going to lie. So hoping for a better this week.
Yeah, we'll go over it in a bit more detail when we go to the picks results when I start throwing excuses everywhere. But while we're here live on Wednesday evenings, 8 p.m., you also catch our show at your convenience on iHeartRadio, Spotify, all those places. Just remember to search for New Zealand Sport Radio. As always, we're going to cover everything you need to know in the week that was rugby league, including our top stories of the week, a review of finals week 1 and round 8 of the NRLW, and an update on our tips. We'll then stop and answer some questions from you guys, as well as questions we've prepared for each other. We'll then preview finals week 2 and make our tips before ending the night with a quick recap of Super League. So remember to send us comments and questions throughout the show, and we may as well jump straight into the top stories, Richie.
Yeah, mate. Sounds good to me.
Because there's less games this week, I knew our show would be a bit shorter, so I tried to get as much news as I can to kind of spread it out a bit, just to help Paul out. We're still trying to crack that 2 hours, which he's set as our target, but we'll try. We haven't really got too much more development so far, but the NRL's in process of investigating a picture that was circulating on social media of Cowboy player Valentine Holmes holding a bag of white substance. He's since deleted the picture and said it was a prank. The Cowboys have advised that they're assisting the NRL in their investigation. I assume there's going to be a fine coming his way. He said it's not what everyone says it is, but you can't prove that it was or wasn't. So they're still going to get him on the bringing the NRL into disrepute, I believe. But what's your take on it? There was a great quote from Paul Gallen saying that social media is not good for NRL players and they should really keep their phones at home when they're going out. But yeah, what's your take on it?
There was also a great quote from Rob from Ruin Hammer, who's in the chat. He was in our chat yesterday saying these rugby league players aren't very smart. I agree with him. It's coming up with a story that it was a prank. I don't know whether you buy that or not, but if it is a prank, it's a pretty dumb one, given what we've seen with players in recent history. The Cheese, Cam Munster. No good's going to come of anything like that. But also, Mad Mondays and white substances just seem to go hand in hand, I think.
Yeah, which is basically what Simon just said, and Bruce said it was just fake gear, you guys. Yeah, sure, I 100% believe him in that. I don't think, but it's just a silly thing to do. We've kind of been able to get away from it a bit this season on the standoff, but last year I know there was a lot of weeks where we were not defending, but just having to talk about stupid things that these players get up to. It's like Ruth said, they're not the brightest. Jacko said Val will get a suspension for sure. Really bad look for the code. Something that's funny, but it's just stupidity beyond belief. 100%.
How are you supposed to fill the off season if they don't do stupid shit?
Well, we like to have a break from time to time, Paul. But it's stupid. Should never have done it. But I'm sure we'll get to talk about it either next week or the week after, whenever a decision's made on what punishment he's given. Next bit of news, though, Latrell Mitchell was going to miss the end of year internationals to deal with a hand injury. I saw there was a bit more of an update on he's basically got 3 options to wear like a little splint on his finger, have surgery, or just get it cut off, like Mr. Crichton did a few years ago. What's your take on that? Would you have picked him in the Australian team right now?
Yeah, if he was fit, I think you do.
Yeah.
On form, no, but for who he is and what he's done
and what he can do,
he can do, yeah, of course you'd pick him. But yeah, I think they'll try and see what they can do about getting his hand fixed before they look at the amputation route. Brad, what have you been doing, mate?
I live in the mean streets of Auckland, mate. You gotta keep your head on a swivel.
Yeah, because I was reading about the story of his injury and the whole amputation thing, and I think having the pinky amputated affects quite a lot of your ball handling and probably have an effect on his passing game, and that's kind of what he's known for. So
yeah, I feel that he'll be going down the surgery route. Myself, you miss the internationals, but get the surgery and should be back, and ready for the big Vegas trip, which we'll probably see more little baggies of white powder, I'm sure, when they go to Vegas. But
more than likely,
we'll obviously keep our ear to the ground on the progress on what route he takes there. And Paul said, "Who cares about internationals? We do.
We do very much so."
The Kiwis might be the only hope for Men in Black this year, so we've got to do what we can. Next bit of news, Mitchell Pearce. I know we've talked about him a few times this season, talking about where he was going to end up in the NRL. But he's announced his retirement at the end of the Super League season. I assume you reckon he'll end up back helping in a capacity with an NRL club, like, I don't, not saying a coach, but how they bring the players in these little side gigs. Do you think he'll end up coming back somewhere?
Oh, it wouldn't surprise me. He's for the most part, he's a respected figure in the game and premiership winner and rep player. So yeah, it wouldn't surprise me. But we'll wish him all the best in retirement either way. What is he, like 35 now? So
I believe so. He's had a hell of a career.
He has.
There's been some ups and downs and some off-field incidents, but Simon said he could see Mitchell Pearce ending up playing domestic French league club. It's what players have done before. Yeah, like James Maloney, retired and now he's playing in the domestics. Never know. I'm sure we'll find out more. But yeah, congrats on a big career. And we'll move on. We'll talk about some of your family now.
Uncle Peter.
Peter Sterling was in line to be asked to present the Churchill Medal at this year's grand final after Rod Churchill has been advised by the NRL that after his Latrell Mitchell comments a while back, they kind of want to move on from him being the presenter. Sterlo has actually come out and said no, though. Advised that he's not available, so he must be busy on that day. And next on the list was Cliffy Lyons, so we'll see if Cliff accepts the honour of handing the Churchill Medal out. What's your take on your relative saying no?
Well, maybe he just doesn't want to do it. I don't know, but yeah, let's see with Cliffy Lyons. How good was Cliffy Lyons? This is a name I haven't heard of in a while, but geez. He was fun to watch. Yeah, outstanding player. Yeah. Let's see if he takes on the responsibility.
Yeah, because I know when I first heard about it, they were talking about the new idea was starting from the first Clive Churchill winner, and then every year having the next year's player be the one present. So Sterling, then Lyons, and so on and so forth. I like the idea.
They should just put some pride on the award and get Mannering to hand it out.
Yes. But yeah, we'll see what happens with it. It's a good idea. I know a lot of players pride themselves in when they win it, so it'd be good to see the former winners of the past come out and celebrate the future ones. But time will tell.
That would rule out Mannering then.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I try not to, but there is Dragon news, mate. Shane Flanagan's announced that he plans to sign another 4 or 5 players for the Dragons before next season starts. He's already announced one, which we'll talk about in the signing segment. So we get two doses of Dragons this week. But what's your take on that news? There's not really that much talent out there for the picking. There's plenty of players, don't get me wrong, but not really the change your club type players that the Dragons need.
Already downplaying the Dragons recruitment. Eh? This is the
Wooden Spoon 2024.
This is the rebirth, Brad. Hey, we're on the rise.
Maybe we'll see. But yeah, good luck to him, I guess. Trying to sound as positive as I can. And quickly move on. Angus Crichton, we just briefly talked about him before. Jacko said, yeah, Flanner trying to sign some decent players. Is that news? Not really, but I know there's a lot of Dragons fans on here. Paul's helping me out. The Dragons were 0-12 on the road this season. It was a great stat. But yeah, Angus Crichton, he's rumored to be close to signing a deal with Rugby Australia from 2024. The Roosters reportedly are willing to release him early from his contract to go, but only if he doesn't join another NRL side. So they're like, we're happy to let you go, but you've got to leave the code, which I think is fair. They got a little bit of control due to the fact that he's still got, I think it's only one more year. It might be 1 or 2. I didn't check, but there was some noise about some other younger players in the Roosters that the Rugby are keen to take. So by letting him go early, it kind of frees up a bit of cash to make sure those younger ones stay, which I think it's probably a good move for both. Crichton's not really been playing like the old Crichton, that was kind of dominating a lot. He's kind of fallen behind the pack a bit. So, and Rugby Australia is kind of taking anyone that's got 2 legs at the moment. So,
well, he was a schoolboy rugby star, I believe.
He was, yes. He did play union.
So we know he goes well in the code. It would have been a while, so maybe I don't know. Maybe he takes some time to readjust, but the only thing is going to Rugby Australia is that's a bit of a poison chalice that. Rugby Australia.
Yeah,
maybe with him and Sorliti, they might see an upturn in form, but I think it would take more than that.
I think so. And Ruse said he'll walk straight into the Wobblies, which is probably true. I don't follow the rugby union enough anymore to even talk about how good or bad the Wallabies are going. But that's more for you and Paul. But I hope he does well. Move on. Anthony Milford from the Dolphins, rumored to be close to signing with the Lee Leopards in the Super League next season. Not that much of a surprise. I know there was a lot of raised eyebrows when he did sign with the Dolphins, and I felt like he was always going to be a filler in the halves until they thought Katoa was ready. And I think Katoa is more than proof that he's already ready to go. So makes sense to move Milford on and let Katoa and O'Sullivan kind of take over that halves pairing.
I'm sure he'll do well over there too at the Lee Leopards. I reckon he'll go over there and do quite well.
He'll crush it in Super League. So good luck to him on that journey. We'll go to Warriors talk now, Matt. So the Warriors Knights finals match this week sold out 30 minutes after tickets were open to the public. Members had a 24-hour window to get tickets first, thankfully. A lot of noise from people that missed out with calls that the game should have been moved to Eden Park. But you snooze, you lose, which I can say as someone who got tickets, maybe if I didn't get tickets, I wouldn't be as happy. But it was announced today that there's going to be a free event at Eden Park called Wars Under the Stars. And you can go
very
watch.
clever.
You can go watch the Warriors game at Eden Park on the big screen. It's completely free, but you still have to get tickets, so they know how many people they got going. So yeah, I've been told that the tickets will be on sale on Ticketmaster from tomorrow. Yeah, it's a free event. So if you missed out on tickets and you want to go watch it in a big crowd, go along. Personally, you couldn't pay me to go to Eden Park, so I'm not going to be there. Yeah, I have tickets to Mount Smart, so that's where I'll be. But what's your take on first how quick it sold out, people that can't get tickets, and then this new event with rugby trying to get on the Warriors bandwagon?
It's not surprising at all how quickly it sold out, given how well the Warriors' home games have been selling this year, and with it being a home finals match, it would be an even hotter ticket, wouldn't it? So, yep, not surprised at all. And I think the Wars Under the Stars thing's is a cool idea as a free event to I mean, there's going to be, like you say, a lot of people that missed out on tickets, and it's good for all the people that want to go along and watch it. There's a big buzz around the Wars, as they're called nowadays. So I think it's great. We've had some lean years where support hasn't been at such at the level it's at. So I think it's awesome.
Yeah, and Jacko and Rue have both asked questions, which we've saved for our question segment in a bit. But yeah, going back to that, like the dry years, I think there was a picture popped up in my Facebook memories that I sent to you and Rue and Hammer. It was the final round years ago, final round game at Mount Smart, and I took a picture of the row I sit in. We've had the same seats for like 18 years. I was the only one in my row because you didn't even want to come, picking family over. So to go like selling out 30 minutes after going public, flashing back to those moments where I could lie down on my row and have complete control is amazing too. And it just, it shows how well they've been going.
And there's been quite a few moments like that too, hasn't there, Brad? Where it's been us two and not a lot of other people in our row. There's been more than a fair share of those.
Exactly. And yet Simon said it'll be fascinating if the Warriors can fill 2 sports stadiums in Auckland. If they can do that, it'd be really cool. Yeah, I'm hoping they get a decent crowd to that one at Eden Park, as much as I give Eden Park shit for being horrible. It would be bad if they do this event and, they get like 50 people that bother to show up. So I'm hoping they get a decent crowd. You get to sit on the grass and stuff and all that and watch it and all that stuff. So be a good time, especially if you couldn't get tickets and you don't want to be raped and pillaged by these scalpers that are trying to, sell tickets for $1,000 and things like that.
Not cool.
I don't know what price I could give my tickets away for, but it would have to be pretty high to rip me away from that. But DM me if you want to give me lots and lots of money. And then Paul said, I see why you go to a live game, but why watch at a stadium instead of your sofa? I think it's just if you want to go and get in the moment in the crowd, like they do those watch parties for World Cups and stuff. But yeah, and the weather's meant to be good, touching wood. So it could be a good night, but we'll move on. The Tina Turner musical has been announced as the NRL Grand Finals lead entertainment act this year. I think it's a good move, with Tina's passing and the connection she had with NRL, all those years ago. I think it's a good gesture and good entertainment. So what's your take on that?
Well, after State of Origin and the feedback they got, I knew it wasn't going to be 660. But yeah, no, that's a cool little nod to Tina Turner, and obviously her, simply the best is just synonymous with rugby league. So yeah, it'll be cool.
Yeah, definitely. And then lastly, before we get into signings, injuries, and whatnot, there's a new NRL contracting model that could make things a bit muddier. I've looked at a little bit of it and it's confusing. I haven't got all the details yet, so we'll cover it in more detail next week, Richie, when I have a bit more.
Yeah.
But yeah, it looks very confusing. It's basically the gist I've got so far is if a player is getting an offer from another team, they have to give their current team like 10 days notice or something, and then their current club in that time has the chance to offer another contract to let them like backflip or something. It's I don't know. I don't know how it's going to work. Don't know what it means. So I'm going to investigate a bit more this weekend. Once we get a bit more info, and we'll talk about it more next week because we've only got 1 game or 2 games to review next week, so we'll have some time. So we'll move on to signings. Dragons back. They've signed Kyle Flanagan on a 2-year deal. Shock horror. The new coach has hired his son. It's a trend in the NRL. And I don't mind Flanagan. I think he's kind of been getting a bit of a rough deal where he's been. And yeah, if he's going to have any chance to try to make it in the NRL, surely it's got to be at a club that needs help and has his dad at the helm. But what's your take on Kyle following daddy?
Yeah, well, I probably could see it coming. Hey, where he goes, where he plays, I'm not sure. Obviously, Ben Hunt has said he will still be there next year, so I think maybe Kyle's looking at a backup half spot. But yeah,
I didn't want to bring that up because I didn't want to talk about Dragons too much. Ben Hunt came out again and said that he doesn't want to be there, but he's not allowed to go, so he will be there. So he went from let's go to no, I still don't want to be here, but I'm being forced to stay. So yeah, who knows? They might get to a point where they're like, "Nah, bugger it, Ben. You're bringing the mood down in the club. Let's just let you go."
Yeah, that wouldn't surprise me at all. Who knows?
But yeah, a good opportunity for Flanagan. And yeah, Jacko said he could make a very good 9. Yeah, apparently he's been playing a lot of 9 down in reserve grade and doing quite well. I know it's a different level, but it could be a good option for them. So we'll see what happens. I wish him well. And next, I only had 2 more really. Hudson Young's extended his stay with the Raiders until the end of 2027. I think it's a good move for him and for the club. I think he's been doing really well. And then the Panthers have confirmed the signings of Brad Schneider on a 2-year deal and Paul Alamotti on a 1-year deal. I never criticize any signings the Panthers do. They seem to grab anyone they want and turn them into decent first graders. So I think it's great for Brad Schneider going in. He's going to
come back.
Yeah, he's going to be that Sean O'Sullivan, Jack Cogger position where you're sitting behind Cleary and you play if he goes down injured or he's in Origin and get to sit under the learning tree of one of the better halfbacks in the NRL right now. So great for him. And Paul Alamotti, I think he's very talented from what he started the year with the Bulldogs. And I don't know if he's got a lack of maturity or just a dip in form and that's seen him like kind of be on the outer with the doggies, but it's just another great signing. He can learn a lot from the Panthers.
Yeah. Yeah, if any system's going to pull the best out of someone like him and develop him well, that's one of the clubs you'd want to go to.
Yeah, and it's only 1 year, so if he hits the ground running, he can either get an extension with the Panthers or get a decent pay rise at another club. So I think it's a good move for both. Not a lot of risk from either side. And that sign. And Jacko said dogs letting Alamotti and Avarillo go is strange, but I guess Gus knows best. Yeah, Alamotti I can see letting go. They got Chryson and that coming in, but I don't know why they let Avarillo go. But, from things I've heard from people that are closer with the club, even if they offered him, a decent pay packet, it sounds like the Dolphins were offering more. So he probably still would have gone anyway in that aspect. But yeah,
I think
congrats.
he'll do really well at the Dolphins too, just quietly.
I think so. Congrats to all of them. Injury ward, we've got quite a few. I've reduced it down because there were quite a few, but I've reduced it to teams that are still involved in the finals, unless it was a real big injury. But the first one, probably the worst one, and the one that was the most upsetting for me to see happen. But Ryan Pappenhausen from Storm, he's had surgery on his fractured right ankle and is hopeful to be training again in the new year, which is a great improvement. When it happens, they were talking it was a compound fracture, and that's in some cases that's been career ending. So the fact it wasn't a compound fracture is a light at the end of the tunnel for him there, but it sucks for him. Having all that time off, coming back, and then getting sniped by one of your own players. It was devastating. But yeah, what's your take on poor Pap?
Devastating is the right word. Watching the game, seeing him go down, and obviously in a lot of pain, it was heartbreaking to watch. Someone who's just come back from a 14-month layoff. I hope he comes back confident. It'd be easy to see a couple of pretty big leg injuries eat away at the confidence of somebody like Pappy, who relies so much on his speed. But I just wish him all the best in his recovery and hope he comes back stronger and better.
Yeah, and Ruse mentioned you think of Yao Yi. Yeah, that's
Absolutely.
the guy I was thinking of when, it was a freak accident that his one happened, and never got to play again, which, was really unfortunate because he was really hitting his straps. But yeah, nothing but good wishes towards Pap, and hopefully he comes back and gets to play some more regular footy. I don't want to put him in that Tommy Turbo category because he has had a few injuries. Like this one was a freak accident. It wasn't like he pulled a muscle, trying to get an intercept, or, slipping in the shower or running down the bars like Tommy Turbo does. It was, his grubby player doing a grubby move, and unfortunately him getting in the crossfire. Hope nothing but the best for him there.
You got to be careful around these props. They're clumsy, you see.
It was a great grubby tackle that he did. He just, he didn't need to do what he did at the time. Like the tackle was already done. He didn't need to slide in at the ankles and take everybody out. It was a bulldozer move that only props can do. We are the best at it. Collateral damage is our forte. But yeah, good luck, Pap. Another Storm player went down, and that was Xavier Coates. He suffered a high ankle sprain, and he's not playing this week, but there's also a chance he might not feature again this season. They think it could be a season ender. Unfortunate for him, and a big out for the Storm.
Yeah. Their season may end this weekend anyway.
Potentially. And then this one, it happened after our show, which is what always happens with our bloody show. But Sean Johnson, injured his calf during training, which saw him miss the match last week against the Panthers. He has been named again this week, but there's a lot of cloak and daggers around if he's going to be fit. They're going to give him every chance to play. Personally, I see him playing at Southern Death. It takes a lot for players to not want to play in that game. So the way he's not limping around and stuff, I know it's limping or walking around is a bit different to running around on the field, kicking and whatnot. So, fingers and toes all crossed that he's playing this Saturday. But what was your take on that heartbreaking news?
I feel like it really took away from what we do when we're at our best. He's just the icing on the cake. He drives our team around. He's the finish to our sets. When we're forcing line dropouts or things like that, or he's putting on a play to score tries. It's been Sean this year. So as soon as he went down, I got that bad feeling in my stomach that it would be very tough for us to compete. And yeah, we did find it very hard. Whether or not Sean would have made that much of a difference, you don't know, because the Panthers were very, very good. But yeah, this weekend coming, we definitely need him out there. So I've got everything crossed, like you said.
Yeah, and Jacko said SJ must be playing, or why is our next best halfback not in reserves? There is a question that Rue put through about Volkman, so we'll talk about that a bit more later. But I think I'm not in the coach's box. Webby doesn't return my calls anymore, but I think it's more about his defense maybe that he was worried. But against the Knights, I don't think that would have been as big a concern. So it does surprise me he wasn't even on the extended. But they might have just decided that right now Volkman's not what they need and they're confident in Walker and Tamati. Maybe not what I would go with, but I think your question's around that as well. So I'll avoid that for a little bit. Yep. But next, we'll go through some Roosters who didn't get injured. Poor Roosters. So they're going to be this week. They're out. Suoli'i is out. He got a head knock, so he's got the 11-day stand down. Billy Smith broke his jaw. Played on with a broken jaw, but he will be out. And then Joey Manu, I believe, is not playing either because he re-injured his hamstring.
That's some heavy artillery out of their outside backs, isn't it? Would be nice to be playing them instead of the Knights.
Yeah. But the Knights also have a couple out too.
Jackson, as you're about to talk about.
Yeah, I'm just checking, making sure. So Manu's not even named on the extended. I couldn't remember if they had him on the extended just in case. But yeah, Knights. So Jackson Hastings re-injured his ankle and will miss this week. And Lachlan Fitzgibbon is also out after hurting his shoulder, which he's had a bit of a shoulder complaint for a while. We just talked about a lot of big outs for the Roosters. A lot of those are two key figures in the Knights too.
I think Clune's been going well when Hastings not been available though, so yeah, I think that they'll still go okay there.
Yeah, I think that it's not a write-off saying, okay, well, the Warriors just have to show up. I think it's still going to be a tough battle without those two. As long as you got that little guy in headgear out the back, there's always a threat with the Knights. So a lot of injuries there, and then we get to Naughty Boy Corner. There's one boy and one girl. I think the boy one might go a bit longer, so I'll go with the girl. So Bronco NRLW player Aneta Nuasawala, hip drop, 2-week ban. Pretty straight cut as we're used to, but Jack Whiten, or Byton as everyone's calling him now, he was sent straight to the judiciary for an alleged bite on Tyson Gamble. It was a bit of an interesting court case with him having digs at the judge and whatnot about, have you ever played footy and all that, explaining that he didn't bite and that Gamble had his arm in his mouth and was forcing pressure, and that's what created the bite mark.
Which he did.
I can see that argument. The judiciary didn't care for such news and gave him a 3-match ban. Apparently the Rabbitohs, because they're now going to be the Raiders kind of get out of jail on this one because it's not their problem anymore with Whiten leaving. But the Raiders, the Rabbits are trying to see if they can get the All-Star match that Whiten would normally play in counted towards his ban. We'll see if that happens or not. But even if that does happen, he'll miss the Vegas trip. So what was your take on the whole bite situation? We talk a bit about more of it in our review because I think that's where the momentum swung. After that happened, that's when the Knights got back into the game. But I can see what Whiten was saying, and I've heard a lot of people that have played NRL come out and defend him. Gordon Tallis, I think, said that he even went and did the science and was sitting in his house and biting himself in the arm and all that stuff, and said he can see his point of view. But and then I think Peter Crawley was saying that Gamble should have been penalised for a head high. So it's I don't know about it. It's not something I've done, believe it or not. We can put that on the list of thug things Brad hasn't done. I have not bitten anybody on the field. But yeah, what's your take on all of it?
I think he's probably had a little bit of a nibble, but I also feel like Tyson Gamble having him in a bit of a headlock and his forearm in his mouth and applying pressure plays a little bit of a part too. So you probably don't escape a suspension, but maybe the little part that Tyson Gamble played is a little bit of a mitigation. But I think you still get some suspension for that, don't you? You could see like some marks on his arm.
Yeah, and like Jacko said, it was a grapple tackle, which is illegal. Yeah, so it's you did something that you should have got a penalty against you for, and in the process of it, you got a bit of a nibble. So it's two wrongs don't make a right, as they say. But
yeah,
I don't know what's going on. There was a few throughout the weekend. There was a few calls that didn't get picked up. There was a decent head high on Joseph Tapani, which busted his nose open, and they didn't get a penalty for that either. So I don't know. No excuses, I guess. But we'll move on. That was all the news. I still kept it to around 35 minutes, which is my goal every week. So I managed to stretch it out. We'll go into finals week 1, starting with the Broncos wiping the floor with the Storm 26-0.
Did they ever? Was 4-0. Katoni Staggs, Reece Walsh, Jordan Ricky, Selwyn Cobbo, 4 pretty regular contributors this year. 4 from 4 conversions for Adam Reynolds, 1 penalty goal. 8-0 at halftime. It was, shut out.
Yeah. Strong effort from Brisbane here, showing their class. They did have a few too many errors in them, which saw a few of their scoring chances go to waste, but they showed a lot of improvement in their defensive structure, which I think is the goal. That's what they needed to work on if they want to go all the way this year. So, credit to them. It was, a dominant performance. Not their best, but to beat the Storm 26-0 in the finals is nothing to sneeze at. So, well done, Brisbane. Your thoughts on Brisbane?
I think it takes a lot of balls to tip a team that's on a 14 or 15 game or 15 year skid against the other team. I'm happy I'm the one that tipped the Broncos this week.
I knew it was going that way.
Yeah, they got rid of the hoodoo in a big way. Massive effort to keep the Storm to 0. Class and spades on both sides of the ball. Even with a few errors, they did make some errors. But as soon as they click, the points come so easily for them. And they got the defense as well. So very scary.
Yeah.
If we beat the Knights, that's what we're facing. So
yeah. Be a tough match for the Warriors or the Knights, whoever wins this week, to face the Broncos in Brisbane. But your thought on the Storm?
By their standards, very inept display of attack. They never really look like breaching the Broncos' defense. And then there's the injuries on top. So probably the worst attacking display I've seen from a Storm side. But you got Coates getting injured and mainly Pappenhausen, as we already spoke about. Yeah, not the greatest night at the office for the guys from Melbourne and their fans. It'd be a bit of a heartbreaking night, and it's a tough one to bounce back from. We know they bounce back well, so let's see how they respond this weekend.
Yeah, it was quite possibly one of the worst players I've ever seen from the Storm. They were very unstorm-like, which Jacko's kind of made a point saying they were awful and had a couple of poor games this year. I believe I've used that phrase unstorm-like a couple of times this season.
Many times.
Yeah, they made the same amount of errors as the Broncos, but they look like strangers. There were moments like Harry Grant passing out a dummy half to nobody and things, which you don't see from a guy like him. They look like strangers out there. couldn't defend. A big bounce back's needed this week, as you said, and it's rare to see the Storm play 2 shocking games in a row. So I expect to see an improvement, but to be honest, it's not hard to improve from this, is it?
No, it's pretty bottom of the barrel stuff from them.
Yeah, and Jagger said Olam back in, expected some crunching hits. Yeah, I don't know why they didn't pick him in that game against the Storm, the Broncos. I'm not saying that they would have won if he was out there, but I think he could have fixed a lot of their issues on that edge defense. But yeah, it's a woulda, coulda, shoulda moment. Your player to stand out?
Reynolds. You got to, yeah, he's awesome, man. They've got so much X factor in that team, but what a conductor to have. Perfect off the boot. He completes that team. And he coaches them too, apparently.
Yes, that's always my argument when people tell me that Walters needs to be the Delian Coach of the Year. It's like Adam Reynolds coaches the team. Yeah. Cobbo came out at the beginning of the year and said, Walters is a great guy, but he ain't a coach. So you can't pick him as Delian Coach of the Year, guys. But yeah, my guy that stood out was Reece Walsh. I kind of had a feeling that one of us would go with Walsh, one of us would go to Reynolds. I get to give you my notes, so I get to pick first. So I went with Walsh. The kid's a talent. We know that. I know he's already worried about potentially facing the Warriors in his first ever time in a make it or break it game. But kid's got talent all over the park. He has, since that big blow up, he has seemed to have taken a bit more control of his emotions, which is his weakness. Apart from defensive frailties, letting his emotions, he's a bit more of a Cody Walker. When like he loses his rag, everything falls apart. But he's improved in that, so it's hard to knock him. Mixed emotions with that guy, but he's had a hell of a year. So I had to pick him.
Fair enough.
Next game, Panthers defeating the Warriors 32-6.
Our poor Warriors. It wasn't great viewing. 5 tries to 1. Brian To'o, Liam Martin, Sunia Turuva with 2, and Nathan Cleary. Only the 1 try for us, Wade Egan.
Yeah, very impressive performance from the reigning premiers. It was almost perfect, which I think is a quote I've heard a lot of people say about them. They just know how to apply pressure. They weren't flashy a lot, but they just choked the life out of the Warriors here. Very, very thorough, very methodical. Rue said absolutely clinical. That's probably the best way to describe it. They were just near on perfect. We'll talk about it when we talk about the Warriors, but basically almost all of the Panthers tries came basically immediately off errors from the Warriors. Like they just relentless. But your take on the Panthers?
I've got to start reading what you write before I write my stuff because it's almost the same.
That's why I give you my notes.
I don't always read them, Brad. I just put my stuff down. I thought it was a professional display of finals footy from the back-to-back champs. They showed the golf and finals experience between the two teams, and then I said they essentially squeezed the life out of the Warriors, which is pretty much what you said as well. I won't say more because you don't really
what I say anyway.
You really need to. We all saw it. It was hard to watch.
Yeah, and okay, your take on the Warriors?
For me, it was noticeable how much we missed Sean Johnson's direction and kicking game to finish off sets. Without him, we just didn't seem to get into the right areas and apply any pressure on the Panthers. We gave up errors in our own half, and against this team, that will more often than not lead to points, and that was the case. It was a tough watch, that's for sure. So hopefully Sean is good to go, and we see a good bounce back performance this weekend.
Yeah, it was a tough watch as a Warriors fan, obviously, but they were just outplayed. They made way too many mistakes, which has been a trend all year. I think I sent you a picture in the weekend when I was writing my review. I was working out. I went back and looked at every error I made in every game, and they average just over 10 errors a game, which isn't great. Admittedly, there are other teams doing the same that are as successful in terms of being in the top 4 and whatnot. The Broncos are prolific at making errors. But usually with the Warriors, they make those errors, but their defense is good enough to kind of save them from it, where you can't do that in finals footy against top 4 teams. They'll punish you. So they need to fix that this week. But not all down in the dumps. I thought that they did show a lot of heart on defense.
Yeah.
There was a lot of times when the Panthers were just pounding their line and they managed to keep them out. So that's something to take some pride in. But yeah, that first half onslaught, it was too little too late. They got that nice little try in the second half, but yeah, not enough. And yeah, a big game's needed this week if they want to keep their season alive.
Yeah.
But yeah, just we got heaps of comments. Jacko said too many basic errors and halves were their best average kicking game. Fatal recipe against the Panthers. Yeah, the kicking game was non-existent, which wasn't much of a surprise.
We were saying that we were worried about that leading into the game, weren't we, Brad? Like who's going to kick like Sean? Where are our points going to come from? And it played out pretty much, how you'd expect a Sean Johnson-less Warriors to play.
Yeah. And Simone Metalhead said, he agreed with Jacko and said when he saw Walker and TMM kicking, he said to himself, it's going to be a long 80 minutes. Yep. And as you guys know, when you watched last week, I came into the super confident. I picked the Warriors. I put all my money on it. But that was before I knew Sean wasn't playing. And yeah, Rue said, before we move to player of the day, Rue said, as crazy as it sounds, they defended really well. Yeah, I thought the D was really good at times. Otherwise, this could have been a 40, 50 points if their defense wasn't in check. So that is a positive to take out of it. And they've got a taste of what finals footy's like. So they can prepare better for this week. But I think we picked the same guy, kind of hard not to, but player of the round or player of the match, sorry.
Yeah, Cleary.
Yeah.
Cleary, wasn't it? Yeah, there were other great ones. Fisher Harris is awesome, but Cleary was pulling all the strings and perfect off the boot. Perfect off the boot. A try assists. Yeah, almost. I think some pundits were giving him a 10 out of 10.
Yeah, you name it, he did it. It was a great performance from him. So yeah, congrats. But we'll move on. We'll forget that game ever happened.
Yes, please.
Saturday, another game. Roosters defeating the Sharks 13-12.
Yep, nice close game, this one. 2 tries each for the Sharks. Sione Katoa, Ronaldo Mulitalo. 2 tries for the Roosters. Joey Manu and Sua Wong. And the only difference here, Sam Walker field goal.
Yeah.
In the 72nd minute.
Yeah, so the Roosters faced plenty of adversity in this match. They lost key players to the bin, with Teddy going to the bin. Manu went off injured. They had heaps of other injuries as well. It wasn't the greatest match to watch, but it was a good display of heart from the Roosters here. Nice composure shown from Walker to get his side the win, but they have a massive task this week facing an upset Bellamy and the Storm to keep their season alive. So they'll need a big effort, especially with all the players that are missing. But thoughts, it was the Sterling Inga Cup. We're calling it Sterling Inga because your team got the win. No alphabeticals here. And your predicted premiers are still in the hunt while mine are enjoying Mad Monday. But your thoughts on the Roosters?
Yeah, I thought very brave from the Roosters to come back and take the win, despite being down at halftime and losing key players throughout the match. My preseason prediction lives to fight another day.
Yep. And you'd take on the Sharks.
This is 2 years in a row now. The Sharks make finals but fail to win a game post regular season. Happy Mad Monday, I guess, guys. Back to the drawing board for Craig Fitzgibbon and the Sharks this off-season.
Yeah, another season, another early exit for the Sharks. They were in this match, I'll give them that, but they just had issues with their execution. nailing their conversions, and it could be a different story. As Paul mentioned already, they had 2 missed field goals as well. They just, when it comes to those pressure situations, unfortunately, at the moment, the Sharks and Hines fall apart at the moment. That's what we've seen in the last 2 years of finals, that when the pressure's on, they fold.
Kicking boot camp for Nathan Hines.
Yeah. And yeah, they're a long way off from the title contenders I predicted at the beginning of the season. So yeah.
So next year, not the Sharks.
No, well, I went. What did I rode Manly to disaster. Then I rode Sharks to disaster. I've got to pick another team. I might go Dragons. Ride Dragons. Dragons premiers, mate. I'll turn the tide.
Yeah, do a U-turn.
Yeah, your player to stand out.
Sammy Walker. I just feel like the young fella's come back well. He's had a tough year. He's had a couple of good games now, and he slotted the field goal, which was the difference. So good on him.
Yeah, it's a great story. Wasn't good enough to be a first grader not that long ago, and now keeping their playoff hopes alive. Thought he was great. I went with Sua Wong. Young talent, kind of put into a situation that he probably wasn't ready for, maybe, and he's made every post a winner in every chance he's had this year.
Very good. Very good.
Yeah, thought he had a great game. So yeah, well, congrats to the Roosters there, and we'll move to the last game. I didn't put the score on. What was the score, Richie?
It was
one job. It was 1 point.
30 to 28.
There you go.
Thank you.
That's after extra, in extra time.
Yeah, there you go. So yeah, the Knights Raiders with the Knights holding on.
Ever professional here at the standoff. 5 tries apiece here for the Knights. Greg Mazu, Kalen Ponga, Dom Young with 2, as he does, and Dane Gagai. 5 tries for the Raiders. James Schiller, Trey Mooney, James Schiller again, Matt Frawley, Tom Starling. Went to extra time. Knights came out on top.
Yeah, match of the weekend for me. The Knights are under the pump and look rattled in the first 40. Then that bite situation we talked about revived the impressive crowd. That crowd's crazy. And the Knights surged back. Had a bit of the yips towards the end. They were dropping the ball a little bit, let the Raiders back into the match, which forced the game into overtime. But they had the experience and the cool heads to do what needed to be done for the win. 10 in a row now for the Knights, and a big challenge for them to come over here and face the Warriors this week in what will hopefully be a pretty close comparison Warriors crowd compared to what they were used to in Newcastle. But your take on the Knights?
And hopefully it'll be a streak ender. I thought they showed incredible composure to overturn a 16-6 halftime deficit against the Green Machine, who came to play. Simon must have been fancying his chances. But it shows how far this team have come, and there'll definitely be no easy beat for the Warriors this weekend. They've got a lot of weapons that can worry us, so we'll have to ride that home crowd and be at our very best.
Yeah, and your thought on the Raiders?
You're so close for the Raiders. It's hard not to feel sorry for them. I'm sure Jacko's not going to feel sorry for them. I thought they played with great finals intensity and bashed their way up the middle. And Jack Whiten added some bite to their attack. It was nearly enough. But they lacked the class to get home once it went to extra time.
Yeah, they started this match looking fantastic. They silenced that home crowd. That crowd, was rampant, and then they were just quiet as a church mouse. Then what happened, and they got back into it. But as we've come to expect, unfortunately, the Raiders lost a step in the second half, leaving the door open for the Knights, and then they just made the wrong choices in overtime. We were talking during the game, and I said, that first stage, I know it wasn't golden point, so getting the field goal doesn't win you the game straight away, but they had set up perfectly for a field goal, and then Fogarty kicked to the corner instead of taking the points on offer. And I would have taken the field goal because you get the 1 point, but you also get the ball back.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
that's what I would have done. But I'm not a half, and I get crap from you all the time being a prop, telling halves what to do. So I'll try to stop. Not a great end for them, but they did a lot better than anyone expected in this game. People, I think even Paul mentioned it last week when we were doing the tips. The Knights were bigger favourites than the Panthers at that point. They were the most predictable winner, and they almost lost it. And Jacko said he was actually hoping for a Raiders win because that would have been easier than the Knights this week, even though it hurt to feel that way. I don't want to throw shade because I was kind of saying the same to Richie when we're watching the game, going the Raiders might get this here, and this might be a better option for the Warriors facing the Raiders in New Zealand, especially winning 2 games over them. But there was a bit of doubt in me going, they'll still want to get us back for ruining Croker's 300. So what better way than eliminating the Warriors from the playoffs in Auckland? But it's just what it is. I thought not the way they want to go out, but I thought it was a great effort from them in the end. But I think we picked the same guy this week. On this match. Player to stand out.
Dom Young. Man's a freak. The Roosters have got a good one there, as they do with their sombrero. As I think one of the boys said that in the chat earlier. But what a pickup for them. He's been crazy this year, and he's going to leave them. I would have loved to have seen him stay, but he's going to leave for the Roosters, having shown some pretty hot form this year.
Yeah, I thought he was fantastic. He's so dangerous. And Jacko's kind of said it. The Knights back 5 is scary. Yeah, I know there's been a lot of talk in the media from Willie Mason about the Knights having the worst spine around, but they're right up there with one of the scariest back lines. You got Marju and Young on your wings, Bradman, Best, Dane Gagai in your centres, and Kalen Ponga out the back.
That's crazy.
Yeah, that's an impressive back line. And someone Metalhead just said, shut down the Knights back 5 by winning the middle battle, i.e. AFB, Barnett and Walker. Yeah, and we've seen the Warriors do that in round 1 this year when they did it. And Rue said, Marju's a block of granite. Marju, I still don't know how the Titans let that guy go. But, fantastic back line. So that's it for the round. So, Paul, have you got our picks?
Oh! You want you want
the pictures that I send you? Yeah,
one job, just one job. They say
I send you a couple of pictures, and you can't even do it. So there is finals week 1. As I said last week, it restarts. So after the finals winner was announced, the loser of the regular season is leading right now. Richie with 3 out of 4. He only got, which game was it? You got the Sharks.
Sharks, yeah. This is where the cream rises to the top, you see.
Yeah, they call him finals, Richie.
Yeah. And then I ended up second place with 50% because I picked the Warriors in the Storm. So I got that wrong. And then Simon, unfortunately, he only got the 1. He got the Panthers beating the Warriors. And he's just given us his picks here. So I'm going to quickly write them down. But yeah, congrats, Richie, on getting ahead. You probably sealed it with how short the finals tips are. But
let's hope.
We'll see. So before we, I think the other picture I gave you, Paul, was the road to the finals. So we kind of go over it in the fixtures, but it's just showing what happens. So we've got the 2 games this week, Warriors, Knights, Storm, Roosters. So the winner of the Warriors, Knights game will play Brisbane, and the winner of Storm, Roosters play Panthers. So we won't go into who we're picking yet till we get to that part of the show. And I saw some of our metalheads said, how foreign is this, talking finals footy and the Warriors are still playing. Yeah, first time on the history of our show that we've got to keep talking about the Warriors at this point when it isn't something about dramas off the field.
It's fantastic, isn't it? Like, you got to put it into context against where we've come from the past couple of years in the COVID years. I think even if we were to lose this week, you'd still be pretty proud of how far we've come.
And to be honest, out of the 6 teams left, that game on Saturday, Warriors Knights, those are the 2 teams that people probably wouldn't have thought would be at this point. I know a few people had the Knights. A few people thought the Knights might go all right this year, but yeah, not too many. But yeah, we'll move on. So before we go to questions, I'll quickly go through round 8 of the NRLW. And yeah, Rue said we've all raised our expectations so high that we've kind of lost sight of that achievement. 100%. Yeah, it's kind of, we started the year and in my review, I said 10th. I'd be happy with getting 10th as a Warriors fan. That's big improvement. And then now we're going bloody hell, if we did this, this, and this, we would have beaten the Panthers last week. That's just how we change. And Jago said a good win finals game will put the icing on a great season. Yeah. I think, even if they beat the Knights and then they go down to the Broncos, depending on how they go down will probably change how I think. If they go down shooting, I'd be happy.
Making a prelim's big either way.
Yeah. Great first start on what's hopefully the start of a good campaign. But NRLW round 8 results. See, Paul's got a comment. Brad sharing pictures with Paul. Sounds hot. But yeah, so round 8, second to last round before finals for the girls. The Sharks defeated the Dragons 16-8. Broncos defeated the Tigers 22-8. The game of the round. Knights defeated the Roosters 20-4. The reason that happened was because my girl Millie wasn't playing. And then the Raiders defeated the Cowboys 34-12. And then the Titans defeated the Eels 34-12. So same score in the last 2 games there. But yeah, so they're into their final round before finals. But before we go into all of that, questions. I saw Paul starred quite a few this week, so I think we've got a couple.
Yeah, so we'll kick off with Jacko there. Aitken rumoured to be on at Dolphins. True or false?
What do you mean by on, Jacko? Do you mean on the outer?
He's not there. I don't know.
He's already there.
Yeah, I assume on the outer.
On
potentially,
the outer,
I haven't heard anything, but wouldn't surprise me. They've got a lot of young talent. He's probably taken a bit of coin. Yeah, so he's Jacko said, on the outer. So yeah, I understand you, Jacko. I fill in the gaps. It wouldn't surprise me. He hasn't really hit the ground running there. He's probably on a bit of coin that they might want to use elsewhere. So potentially, maybe. I'm not sure. What about you, Richie?
Hadn't heard anything, but yeah, when you look at who they got coming in, Herbie Farnworth, Averillo, unless they're wanting to switch him into the back row like the Warriors did, their back five's going to be pretty stacked.
I think that's his only option there, is being moved to the forwards again, with who they got coming in. But yeah. Anyone else, Paul? Or do you want to answer it as well?
I know. I'll ask it. Where does this week's team selection leave Volkman?
Playing in the finals in New South Wales Cup, Roo. You do a show. You should know this. This is basic.
Yeah.
I know what he means. It's interesting. We did hear noise. I think we mentioned it a few weeks ago that there was kind of some rumors that he potentially was looking at Super League. But I'm not sure. We haven't heard anything concrete. It is kind of a, you're meant to be the number 2, number 7. The number 1's number 7 goes down, and you don't get picked to play. Might be a bit of a show on where they see him right now. So I really don't know. I could see him sticking around and getting some more game time. I could also see him ending up in Super League, especially with guys like Chanel coming back and Luke Metcalf kind of taking over. And yeah, Jago said leave Volkman Cup, but is it the right call, or is he too young to retire? Yeah, he's too young. He is too young to go to Super League. I think he's still got a big shelf life. But I also think it could also be the opposite, where they the New South Wales Cup team's got a big match this week. They win, they go into the grand final, and they really need them. So it could even be that going like, we can probably do okay without you.
The Warriors haven't got a chance, therefore we'll go for the second tier prize.
It's not a second tier prize. New South Wales Cup would be a great trophy to get. But yeah, you got any else on that, Richie?
Yeah, I know watching Volkman play against the Dolphins, he didn't really give the best account of himself. He's been performing the house down in New South Wales Cup, but that's a whole different ball game. Yeah, I just think maybe the step to finals is probably a step too big for him right now, and yeah, who knows where that leaves him going forward. Like you say, Brad, Chanel coming in, we've got some good cover in the positions that he plays. So
I would like to see him have a go with the forward pack, though. Admittedly, the forward pack he had for the Dolphins wasn't top tier. If he, how does he go at 7 behind Tohu, Adam Fanua-Blake, Barnett, and all that? And so I said New South Wales Cup, the NRL before the NRL. Exactly. Yeah, you got to win that one too. We've got to leave with a trophy somewhere. Jacko said Volks can play. I really hope we don't lose him. Yeah, I'm still not sold. Like, if you gave him the keys to drive this Warriors team right now, I'm not convinced. But I think there's still a lot of growth in him, and he could actually do something if given the chance.
So last week you're talking about the lack of direction and how Sean Johnson was missed. Would you play Sean Johnson this week even if his leg wasn't up to kicking?
Yeah.
So someone else got to do the kicking, but would you still have him on the pitch?
Yeah. His playing game is something we could use. I think he can. This is all smoke screens. They just wanted to give him an extra week off. He's not even hurt. I'm not listening to this rubbish the Warriors are doing. The mind games don't fool me.
I think if he's not good enough to kick, he's probably barely good enough to run. So
it's different stress on the different stress on the legs and stuff. So you do see some players, especially rugby union, come back who don't take up the kicking duties because hey, it'll ping.
Part of the real benefit of having Sean play is the end to our sets and how he gets us repeat sets and his long kicking game. So
yeah, I think if he can't actually do his long kicking game, then I don't see why you'd push him. But I expect him to play. It wasn't so much about that. So whether he would not. Then Mikey says, why is Ponga playing after the KO? Because it's finals. The Knights need him. There was a lot of talk about that. Paul, before they got their game-winning penalty against the Raiders, he got a hit and a tackle, knocked his head on the ground, and looked like he was on another planet, which is what happens with Kalen Ponga in most games when he gets a head knock. But he didn't get taken off for an HIA. He kicked the penalty goal. Like Ruth said, it's superstar rule. We kind of talked about it last week, didn't we, Richie, about would the HIA stand downs actually happen in finals? It has with Suoli'i, but Suoli'i is a great player, but he's not I fully don't expect it to happen to a Ponga, to a Cleary. I think if things like that happen with those guys, they're going to magically be absolutely fine.
I was wondering if Ponga, there was an element of him trying to milk a penalty. I think they got pinged for offside anyway, but he probably didn't know that.
That at the time.
Yeah.
I think if he was knocked early, he probably wouldn't be able to kick a conversion or a penalty goal. So I think he was fine.
He bounced back up once he saw there was a penalty in his team's favour.
God, play acting. Dear me, dirty play.
Yeah.
Look, with 5 missed drop goals in deciding that in losing efforts last weekend, how happy are you with your drop goals for the teams coming up this weekend?
I'm fine with it if Sean's playing and can
Sean's great.
Sean knows how to do it. Sean's done it a lot for us this year.
He's not George Ford, but he's Sean Johnson. He can do
it. There you go. So Jacko said the Roosters, not the match officials, stood Suoli'i down, which is credit to them. Yeah, so even the NRL officials weren't going to do the 11-day stand down. So yeah, it's completely everything's off in finals. They don't care. But yeah, Sean, Knights. I have Knights. They got Ponga. Ponga can do it. Then Storm. They got Munster, and Roosters. They got Walker, who did it last week. So I think all of them have that ability this week. So the chokers are all gone now. So that was all those questions. Now, there was a question we got last week that I completely forgot. Andrew, the editor at Nothing But League, sent me a question last week, and yeah, I completely forgot to write it down. So it was still kind of relevant, so I've brought it in, Richie. His question to us was, as Warriors fans, what would be your ideal time slot for a home semi-final or preliminary final? So we got the home semi this week. For you as a fan, what is an ideal time? They've got, it's what, 6 o'clock on Saturday?
Yeah.
I'm more than happy with 6.
I'm pretty happy with 6 as well, to be fair.
Yeah. 6 is usually the 6 or 8. I'm happy with. And I prefer the Saturday. Sometimes it's a bit of a stressful day trying to get there on a Friday after work and whatnot. So Saturday at 6, I'm more than happy with.
Yeah, I mean, 8's a bit late. So if you want to be, if you're trying to catch the youth audience, you want to try and get kids watching these sort of games, then I think 6 is a better time slot than 8. So you can put it on while everyone's eating dinner.
I don't care about the kids, mate. Yes, I care about watching it for myself. The less kids, the better.
See, so we got Mr. Selfish Brad, and then I say there's me thinking about the greater audience and the audience for the years to come. Brad doesn't give a shit.
Nope, I care about me. And Simon said 6 works because it's 4 in the afternoon in the eastern states in Australia. The only place it might be is the Northern Hemisphere time zone. Simon said kids of the future, that's why we have to stop them now. So so hopefully that answered your question, Andrew, and apologies again for forgetting to ask it last week. We'll go with your one because it kind of goes into what was already asked a little bit.
So my question to you was, with the advantage of hindsight, do you think Walker and Tamari Martin in the halves, given SJ's injury, was the right move, or would you have gone another way? With the benefit of hindsight, of course.
I told you, mate. Adam Fanua-Blake in the halves.
But seriously,
right in the face. I would have done Tamari and Volkman. They had already played the week before together in the Dolphins game. Admittedly, they didn't, do that well. But as I said, it would, behind the Warriors forward pack, it seems that's the like for like. Would have been great if Webby had listened to me a few weeks earlier and brought Tamari in early in that game that Metcalf got injured, because then we'd have Metcalf as well. But yeah, I think, and it's the benefit of hindsight. Walker and TMM might have killed it and we could have won this game and we wouldn't be going, what would we do? But yeah, I think bringing Walker into the halves kind of affects you in 2 ways, because I don't feel he's as good in the halves as they would want him to be, and you miss him coming off the bench, which has been a real strength for the Warriors, is his impact coming off the bench at like the 20 to 30 minute mark. So by having him in the halves, you lose that sting. There were a few other guys. I think it was Fonzie kind of was on the radio and made a comment about the Warriors try to use Suriname as Walker in this game, and that didn't work. In hindsight, I would have gone with Volkman. I know Volkman, he's not the finished product, has some issues in defense, but I think he's got the second best kicking game in the club right now out of current players. So it seems the right idea. If you need a kicking game against Penrith. But yeah, I don't know. What about what did you reckon? I know it was your question, but
at the time I definitely agreed with what Webby rolled out. I could see the logic in it. They're both probably stronger defensively than young Volkman, but obviously with hindsight, and we know the way the game went down, it would have been interesting to see Volkman in the halves and what difference he might have made.
Yeah, and Simon Metalhead mentioned how good was Ali Leotawa, potential centre pairing with RTS in 2024 season. He killed it in that New South Wales Cup game in the weekend, and I think I said it to you. If he didn't get injured after that Raiders game, I think he would be the starting centre instead of Rocco Berry right now. He did nothing wrong. And yeah, he killed it. And I think he's a definite shot to leapfrog all those other centres to go in. He has to be playing first grade at some point next year for sure. Definite talent. And yeah, Jacko said Volkman's tough. He played with a compound busted finger for over half a game. Yeah,
He did.
He's a tough little nugget. So yeah, I would have put my money on him and given him a bit of a confidence boost, saying go out there and prove that Dolphins game was a one-off. But it's in the past now. My question to you: we got a taste of extra time footy in that night's Raiders clash. Would you prefer to see that in the regular season as opposed to the cheap golden point?
No, I like the cheap golden point. I was even wanting it to be golden point in this finals game. I kind of like the helter skelter. It adds to the extra time. Adds a bit of nerves and I think every team's on edge, knowing that a field goal could come at any time, and the margins can be fine, like we saw in the Raiders versus Warriors game where Jamal Fogarty kicked a bomb that just went a little bit too far and gifted us a 7 tackle set. That was enough. We march up the field and win. I don't know. I just think that's quite cool. So I would be in favor of keeping that regular season. I even thought it would be quite cool seeing that in that night's Raiders game, and we could have seen the Raiders pop a field. Well, as we saw, they don't really have the ability of popping a field goal over, but maybe Fogarty takes a shot at it instead of ignoring the option.
I think that one where they got in good position, I think he would have nailed that if he had gone for it. He had plenty of time.
Yeah.
And then everyone said, yeah, just stay at 80 minutes for me. They'll go for drop goals anyway.
I mean, in a regular season, you don't want to see extra time just drag on a game. I mean, golden point or have a draw.
Yeah, and like Jacko said, for over 100 years, a draw was a draw, but apparently now we need excitement. Extra time in finals is all we need. Yeah, I can take it or leave it. I'm happy if they regular season draw and then in knockout games, you bring that in. I don't mind it as much because now with Sean back, the Warriors can actually win in golden point. So I don't mind. And I don't mind the extra time. I wouldn't even mind if they wanted to do it. Simon said he thinks the current system's fine. Even if they put a change on it where they followed my lovely NFL, where you go into like your golden point. If you score a touchdown, the game's over. If you kick a field goal, the opposition team gets one more drive to try to get the win back. So it's because they were over people just banging a field goal from like halfway and ending the game. But it's a bit different in league because it's not, you can really milk a drive in NFL where a 5 tackle set, you might not necessarily get all the way to tie it up and get a try. But yeah, I think it will stay the same, but I was running out of questions to ask you. So we'll move on to week 2. So if Paul can bring up our team for the Warriors. So Warriors playing Knights Saturday night at 6:00. I'll let you go down the Warriors.
It's mostly the same.
Jacko said for a prop, you're overthinking extra time. Props all think about being that match winner in golden point. It's what our dream is.
Yeah, true. Brad's always fantasized about kicking an extra time field goal.
Yep.
Yeah. The Warriors lineup at fullback, CNK, as always. The wingers, Dylan Martinez-Lesniak, Marcelo Montoya. The centers, Rocco Berry, Adam Pompey. The halves, Tamari Martin and Sean Johnson's been named. Good news. The forward pack, front row, Adam Fanor-Blake, Mitch Barnett, Wade Egan. Edge back rows, Jackson Ford, Marati Niokore. lock and captain Tohu Harris. Interchange bench Dylan Walker, Jazz Tevanga, Bailey Siren, and Josh Curran.
Yeah, so it's exactly the same team that was announced last week, including the extended bench. The same 23 players. Not a bad team. I was happy with that team last week as well. Kind of it all imploded with the SJ news, of course, but yeah, I think that's a good enough team to do the job. Would there have been any changes you would have made?
No, everyone available. I'm happy with that. Yeah. I don't know. How about you? Because that's pretty much full strength.
Yeah, I think I'd be happy with it. The only thing maybe I might have switched Curran and Ford around. I think Curran's recent form's been better than Ford's, even though Ford's been amazing all year. I think Curran showed a bit of spark. We saw that in that Panthers game when he came on. Things actually started to happen.
But they actually waited quite a while before putting Josh Curran on the field.
Yeah, and in my preview that I do at the end of my reviews every week, I said I don't mind if Curran's on the bench as long as they actually bring him on a bit earlier this time.
Yeah.
But yeah, we'll see. But we'll go on to the Knights. So they've had a few outs as we talked about, but Skipper Kalen Ponga's out the back. Then the terrifying wingers, Dom Young and Greg Maju. Then Best and Gagai in the centres. Then we've got Tyson Gamble and Adam Clune in the halves. Jacob Safidi, Phoenix Crossland, and Leo Thompson in the front row. Tyson Frizzell and Dylan Lucas in the second row, and then Adam Elliott at lock. Then interchange, we've got Kurt Mann, Daniel Safidi, good old Jack Etherington, and Matt Croker. Still not a bad night side. I know they've got some outs there, but it's very still good. Dangerous. It said the back five are terrifying. Gamble, when he's in his mode, he can do some good things. Clune solid, and it's a decent forward pack. Maybe Hetherington will help us out with a sim bin or two.
That'd be nice.
But yeah, so who have you got? Warriors, Knights, who are you picking?
I've got to back the boys at home.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have to.
Yeah, I've gone that too. I don't think it's going to be like a massive win or anything. I think it'll be another tight game like we saw from the Knights Raiders game. But at home in front of a packed out crowd. You were there at the last one in 2008 when we played the Roosters and how crazy the atmosphere was. I think this will probably even go above that. So yeah, I think they'll ride the fans home. They got G as the ref again, which is a bit of a concern, but hopefully the home crowd can help him do his job better.
Yeah, hopefully.
And Paul, bring you in for Simon's pick.
Simon's gone with the Warriors.
Yeah. So all three of us have picked the Warriors. We might have a one-game multi here, or potentially two. Friday night, though, the game kicking it all off is the Storm Roosters. So I've gone with the Storm. I know they didn't play well last week, but they don't play two bad games in a row, and I think the Roosters have got far too many of their key players out. If Joey Manu and the likes are all playing, I might have gone with the Roosters here, but I think your premiers are done now, Richie.
I think so too, mate. Too much heavy artillery and their outside backs missing this week.
Yeah,
and the Storm will be hurting. They're missing Pappy and Coates, but I think the Storm have a lot more depth in their back line. They've got some pretty good depth there. They can still bring in some pretty good handy players.
Yeah. And Jacko said the same. Storm will bounce back and demolish the Chookies. And what did Simon say, Paul?
Yeah, we've got the Storm as well. The $1.28 favourites. Roosters at $3.55. Let's be honest. The Roosters have been in the bottom half of the league for most of the season. They only snuck in at the end there. So look, they're lucky to be where they are. To be honest.
So we got a 2-game multi.
2-game multi, yes.
This might be the first time in some time we've agreed on every game in a round.
So
it does mean that the finals Richie will be leading next week in the picking comp.
Yeah. Well, as I said, I think he's already got it. And Simon said 2-game multi. I think we've had a 2-game multi when there was 8 games and we still got it wrong. So, so we'll see. But I think it
The
Two good
$2 will
games.
make $3.94 if it completes. So there we go.
All
Yeah,
right.
I already put my multi down for this game. I threw some Rugby Union World Cup ones in just to try to help me out a little bit. But we'll see. So yeah, before we go on to Super League, the final round of the NRLW is kicking off on Thursday with the Tigers playing the Knights. Then we got 2 games on Saturday, Roosters playing the Cowboys and Dragons playing the Broncos. And they ended on Sunday with the Eels and Sharks and the Raiders Titans. So then we'll have the teams we need for finals. And yeah, Jack has said 2-game multi, God likely means Knights and Chooks win.
If that happens, I'm done for the year.
Well, then you're one step closer to your premiers taking it out.
Yeah, I'll hang on to that.
Hang on to that. So that's it for the NRL, which means Jacko is going to abandon us. Cheers again for joining us, Jacko. We'll quickly go into overseas Super League. Top 4 remain the same, Richie. Wigan still in first, Catalans in second, St. Helens in third, and Lee fourth. Wakefield, the ones we always talk about, sitting at the bottom of the ladder. They showed some effort. They just lost to Catalans, which is a great effort for them, but they still remain a certainty to be relegated. So, Catalans only got through against Wakefield 18-10. And Simon's got some news. So before I go over the rest of the round, he said, just let you guys know with the related news of Super League, Toulouse may be in financial trouble. There's talks that they might be going into bankruptcy, and it would be a shame.
Yeah, be a shame.
Yeah, it would be a shame. That's the negative of when you get relegated, though. That's why I'm not a fan of relegation. I feel like it kind of guts the teams that get relegated because the players don't want to, play in the next tier down, and it falls apart. But money's a big issue with Super League all over the place at the moment. I want to dig into that a bit more when we have a bit more time. There's lots of trouble. Money-wise for the Super League, it's kind of falling apart. But back to the games. Hull KR defeated Uddersfield 26-18. St. Helens defeated Lee 22-12. Castleford defeated Hull FC 29-12. Wigan put on a bit of a show.
Oh, yeah, they did.
They defeated Leeds 15-0. And then Salford defeated Warrington 24-20. And then we got some good games this week. So Warrington are playing St. Helens. Lee are playing Wakefield. Wigan versus Castleford. Hull FC versus Uddersfield. Catalans versus Leeds. And then Hull KR versus Salford. So a couple of good matches in there. We'll see if Wakefield can build on their tight loss to go up against another top 4 team and try to get a win. And we'll see what more damage Wigan can do as they keep rolling forward. Anything else you want to add, Richie?
I'm just looking forward to the game this weekend. I hope all you people that have been chatting with us tonight enjoy the game and send all your good vibes through the screen, or if you go into the game, that's great. But yeah, send the boys all your energy and good luck, because mate, if we were to win this weekend at home, that'd be massive, and making a prelim, irrespective of the result, would be huge for us. So fingers crossed.
100%.
Yeah,
100%. Really looking forward to it, and I'll get to talk about the experience, what it's like in the stadium when we review the game next week, and then you can also fill in what it was like watching it at home.
Yeah,
and see if what I was hearing and seeing at the game, if it came through on the TV screen like it did with the Knights crowd. Hopefully it does. And we'll want to see go the Warriors. Yeah, it's great weekend. Really looking forward to it. Still very nervous, but really enjoying talking about it next week, hopefully, if we're on the right side of the result. But yeah, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining us tonight on the Standoff with Brad and Richie. For your weekly update on rugby league, tune into the show next week at 8 p.m. on Wednesday here on Facebook and YouTube, or at your convenience on iHeartRadio and Spotify. Just remember to search for New Zealand Sport Radio. Cheers for joining me again, Richie, and
cheers.
Thank you, Paul, for your help in the background, and good night, everyone.